Welcome everyone to CivilNet. I'm joined today by Tigran Sargsyan, co-founder and CEO of AOByte, a Yerevan-based software developer. Tigran, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure being here.
So first, can you just tell us a little bit more about your story and about AOByte? What do you do? What led you to create the company?
Sure. Our journey started with being a two-people operation. We started creating a software for the insurance industry. Our first customers were from insurance industry, and we were driven with the passion of automating things. Like when you just start a software development, it's a very passionate thing when you realize that even having a basic skill, you can automate things and make something useful for people, like even a small tools. And then all of a sudden, when you realize that you have a lot more skills and then you can do it at a lot bigger scale, you kind of drive your passion to automate an industries and make a product that makes life just easier, faster, sometimes even better. And then that's been our journey of automating industries, like automating financial industry, automating healthcare industry. And we still drive on that passion of kind of digitalizing the world.
That's great. And I understand you've worked in IT both here in Armenia and in Canada.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and what can you say about how you've seen Armenia's tech sector develop over the past 10 or 15 years?
It's very interesting because I have worked in Canada more than 10 years ago. It was 2011, 2012, and back then IT industry landscape was totally different. And going to Canada was a huge experience in terms of realizing how people are working in North America, was the working culture, how people communicate to each other in terms of basic communication and in terms of professional processes and stuff. And back in the day when we were working here, I think our company was one of the few that employed the processes that were employed in North America. But these days, I should say that a lot of companies in Armenia are living up to that standards. Like I always say that the Armenian IT industry is a mirror of the Silicon Valley. It acts with some latency, but it still like a mirrors and mimics the behavior. And I'm happy to notice that in 10 or 12 years, we've gone a long way.
And so where do you see Armenia's tech sector going in the next few years then?
I think that's a very interesting question because, as I've said, Armenia is a somewhat mirroring Silicon Valley, and in Silicon Valley and everywhere worldwide, we've seen an AI revolution. We see how things are changing, we recently saw that because of their big involvement in OpenAI, Microsoft became the most valuable company in the world, right? And they surpassed everyone, including Apple. And it just tells how AI is important these days. And it's very hard to answer this question in terms of there's a big debate whether software development traditional would be needed in 1 or 3 years, right? Everybody is debating this question. So I think the future is definitely is linked to the AI, the companies that produce AI tools, and a lot of companies that efficiently are using the AI tools. Luckily, we've got a great companies here that they're doing AI, that putting Armenia on a worldwide map of IT industry. So probably anything linked to the AI will be still very important to driving the success.
And I also wanted to ask you about the issue of quality of education and shortage of professionals in Armenia. That's something that comes up from time to time in conversation with folks in the tech industry. What's your perspective on this and what can be done?
I think there are a couple of issues that we encounter on a daily basis, whether and the first issue is how much graduates of Armenian universities are prepared to join the workforce. And besides, and there's probably two aspects of this. Like the first issue would be that what kind of relevant technical knowledge do these people have, and also how much they are prepared in working in a modern work environment, right? I mean, the skills of communication, the skills of knowing the tools that are not related to the technology. And we still see that the people who are performing in a university as well, people who are taking their studies seriously, they're contributing a lot, they're doing extremely well, they're becoming a talented engineer. So I think also talking a lot to the people who are more involved in the education, it seems that the first issue that we have is an issue of filtering. How do we filter our students? How we filter students to join the universities who are motivated to learn, who want to learn. And I think also we as the industry have to do a better job of showing them the future. I think because of turbulent past of Armenia, I don't think we're doing a great job or did a great job of showing youth that if you put a lot of effort, if you learn well, if you work well, that's eventually going to contribute to your well-being, right? I think through our past, this notion has been kind of somewhat erased, and people don't really link their well-being, their financial success to the level of education they have.
And I want to ask also about the role of the diaspora here. That's, again, something that comes up over and over again in conversation with folks in business in Armenia, generally, I would say, and particularly in tech. What is your point of view on this? How can folks in the diaspora get involved in Armenia's development? What to do, what not to do?
Yeah, I think, well, I think it's been said a lot of times, but it's still the truth that our diaspora is one of our biggest resources as a nation, and because we have a big population of people living in the in the places that has most advanced technologies, most advanced networking, and obviously we can contribute greatly from the knowledge that diaspora possesses, right? And this is one of the most important things, that we need to find a way of using efficiently, because otherwise it's kind of we're wasting the potential there, right? And we obviously, even if you look at the IT, right, at the IT of the Armenia, how it was established, how the things are moving, there's most of the things that we are doing are linked to our diaspora. We learn from the diaspora. We learned to this point how to work in a more efficient work culture, like how to work in the North American culture. A lot of business that comes here, whether it's IT or some other business that comes from the North America, it comes through our diaspora. I think one of the things that obviously diaspora is doing a good job of getting involved back at home, back here. But I think also while living as an immigrant, I also felt that when you have when you're an immigrant or not an immigrant, but maybe you're not first generation immigrant, but when you have your connections back at homeland, you also kind of have a competitive advantage over other people, right? Because there have been a couple of interesting stories how you can be living in Canada and one person might be looking for a Portuguese translator, and then you can link them to a Portuguese translator who lives in Armenia, and all of a sudden everybody is happy, right? The work is getting done, and obviously it's a lot easier financially to work with the translators in Armenia than in Canada or US. I think one of the things is one of the important things is to get involved with the individuals and the companies that have proven track record of what they are doing and whether they are doing it good or not, because we should admit that over time there's sometimes happening a disappointment when a diaspora is getting involved with the companies or individuals who are not at the level of professionals that is expected. And when that's happening, obviously there is a disappointment and there is a lot more resistance to give it a second try. I think getting involved with the companies that have proven record of delivering the products that they are trying to deliver and working in a culture that is acceptable for North America is very important in order to kind of avoid the disappointment and the bad results. So that's probably one of the most important things. And otherwise it can result, as I mentioned, to disappointment and usually people getting reluctant to kind of continue trying to getting involved.
And what else can we expect from AOByte? What can we look forward to for in the next year or so from you guys? Anything to say?
Yeah, we're heavily AOByte is, as I said, AOByte is heavily driven by their passion of automating industries, and I think when we say automating industries, we usually think something that is very hard to describe or something, but like automating industries is a good example of, we all have an online banking these days, right? And it's very easy to send money to each other and transfer funds, right? And when you think about it, like, okay, how does this make world better, right? Okay, I can transfer money easier and stuff, but when you think about it, like how much human stories there are that like somebody is working abroad and then they're sending money back home to their parents in need, right? Or your friends have a need and you're transferring money, or you're automating some other industry and then you are getting quick access to the healthcare and somebody's lives is getting saved, right? So automating industries is ultimately about making humanity to live a better life. It may not always come to it, but that's the goal, right? So AOByte is committed to their goal of automating industries and going in pace of the rest of the world who are involving and we're trying to include AI solutions because it gives us a more and more like a huge potential of automating and making life easier. So that's our goal for the next 5 years. We want to continue doing what we're doing, and we're going to use AI to make the world more automated and just make it a better place.
Great. Well, Tigran, thank you again very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.